Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of the Nick Kroll Show. Today, I got Branden McCoy, owner of Ship City Fitness, here with me. Branden, how are you today?
I'm doing great, man. Good to be on.
It's good to have you on. So when did you open Ship City Fitness?
I actually took over the business from the previous owners. I took over the business back in December of 2017. Officially is when I bought over from the previous owner. But prior to that, I was working for them for a year before they decided to get out of the business. They were family friends for probably 12 to 15 years before I took it over from them. So that was basically how I got into it. It wasn't what I had planned. It was just something that I stumbled into and have been loving it ever since.
Wow, that's okay. I did not know that. That's awesome. So was that like, did you eventually see that as kind of your plan, or was that just like all of a sudden they're like, hey, you want to take over?
So I actually purchased the business from my old martial arts instructor. Him and his wife at the time owned the business. They ran a martial arts school for probably 12 years. And then when I went out to college, they kind of converted to a CrossFit school, a CrossFit gym. By the time I got back from college, I just came back to be part of an internship at a physical therapy clinic. That was my original goal, to go back to physical therapy school. And while I was up here was the year that they decided to either shut down the gym or kind of hand it off to somebody who was willing to take over. So I thought that it would be a good opportunity. It was definitely in my mind that I wanted to open up my own physical therapy clinic down the line. But owning a gym was definitely not what I had envisioned myself doing when I was younger. Physical therapy was kind of what I had my mind set on since I was like a freshman in high school. So the gym was just kind of something that I stumbled into by chance. And, I don't think I would have changed any decision that I've made so far, just because it's been, awesome ever since I started.
Oh, that's really cool. So you always kind of had an entrepreneurial focus, like you wanted to create something on your own or build something on your own. And then this just kind of fell in your lap.
Yeah.
So,
I had no idea that this was what was going to come out of it. For me, it was a pretty low risk situation, and I'm not somebody who has historically been comfortable with a ton of risk. So there was a lot of fear going into it and making the decision whether or not I was going to continue to pursue physical therapy, or if I wanted to actually step into the actual business, mode where I was going to own my own entity and, run the day-to-days and try to be on top of the management and administrative side. So it was, just a lucky thing that I got into it with the way that I did, because looking at how much actually goes into starting up a business, I don't know how successful I would have been if I had to basically start from scratch. There's been a lot of kind of pieces that have fallen into place just because I know the right person, or I have the right conversation, or I just make a gut decision that ends up being really, really helpful for me. So
I'm a big believer in that wasn't chance. That was opportunity created, because I believe in if you get around the people that you want to be like, or someone that owns a gym, right? Like that's something I want to do. So I reached out to you, where I'm going to hopefully learn something from this. Hopefully the audience will learn something from this. And, having this conversation helps me learn. And it's one of those things where you worked at a gym and then you met those people. So the opportunity came up. You know all these other people because now they come into your gym, or however you know these people, and you have these good conversations, and opportunity presents itself along the way. And it's kind of up to you whether you take it or not. But I've noticed that a lot with myself as well, is I know a lot of people for if something breaks or needs something done, and I'm, hey, how do you do this? How do you do that? And some of it may be luck, I guess, but I feel like it's more of creating that opportunity and just being a good human and creating good relationships with people.
yeah, I mean, I call it luck, but I mean, you are right in the sense that, I put myself in positions to succeed most of the time, or at least that's the goal with any decision that I make. I don't want to set myself up for failure. So, making decisions based on things that I value a lot, always keeping my priorities in mind, taking into consideration, what I do now is going to affect me in the future. Yeah, I mean, it kind of presents itself to me as luck, but I think you're right in the sense that,
It's opportunity.
Yeah, opportunity that I've created by meeting the right people, or talking to the right people, or associating myself with people who are aligned with the same goals that I have in my life.
And being the owner of a gym, I mean, you see people every day in and out, in and out. How do you what do you do at your gym that's, I guess different than another gym, like to connect with people, or like, what is your specialty? I know you said they did CrossFit. Do you still have it as a CrossFit gym?
No, it's been a big transition. I think every year I can kind of look back and just kind of see the growth that I've gone through and that my business has gone through. When I first took over the business, they were transitioning from a CrossFit gym into a weight loss studio. So my original clientele is not who I currently work with. Right now, it's a pretty diverse crowd, anywhere from high school students all the way up to, I think my oldest client has been like 87.
Wow.
Men, women, athletes, just general population. There's not really like a set person that I strive to work with, which I like because, there's so many different people out there who all want to accomplish different things. As far as like what sets my gym apart, I think the thing that sticks out to me the most is me. I don't have any employees right now, so I'm on the front line day in and day out. I do everything from the bookkeeping to the membership to the laundry. So my days pretty much consist of sitting at my computer, doing everything that I need to take care of on the back end. And then when I need to take a break, I'll get up, I'll walk around, I'll make sure that I'm talking to the members, having a personal interaction with everybody that comes in through the door. I think makes a big difference, because when you come into a place like this versus like a Planet Fitness, you're probably not going to meet the owner of a Planet Fitness. Rather, I'm the first person you see, and I'm probably the one person that you're going to be dealing with every single time you come in.
That's awesome. I didn't know you had no employees. I mean, that's got to be awesome, but also overwhelming at times. I mean, how is that, like, mentally?
It's good right now in the position that I'm in with my life. Luckily, my responsibilities pretty much revolve around the gym. I have a serious girlfriend who I live with, who is very supportive of my lifestyle. She understands that exercise is a huge part of my life. She understands that the business is basically my child right now. So I basically pour my heart and soul into the gym. So luckily, I'm not spread too thin at the moment, which leaves me available to basically take care of everything that I need to here. As far as the responsibilities that I have, they do range widely. So it is a lot to keep in mind. And that's something that I have really been trying to be mindful of, is that, there are a ton of day-to-day things that I need to take care of. But in order to grow my business, I also need to keep my mind on what's in the horizon. I need to be able to think about what decisions that might not help me out immediately, but will set me up in a year or 5 years. So that way I can continue to grow and not just get stuck folding laundry or cleaning equipment, because that stuff keeps me running. It keeps everybody happy, but it doesn't do anything to help me out long term.
Right. And that's actually really, I mean, I love that you mentioned that, because I feel like a lot of what people do is for that immediate satisfaction, that instant gratification, whether it's, going out and partying or not working out for the day. But in the long run, it feels so much better to stay in and not party and go work out versus not, you know what I mean? Like, I mean, I've noticed that with a ton of my friends, myself, that sacrificing the short term for the long term is always so much more beneficial. What are some things you're looking at for the long term? I think your mic just muted there.
Yeah. So for the long term, the thing that I got my mind on right now are a lot of the online things that I think need to be taken care of. So that way, some of the things that I take care of in person can be automated a little bit better. Um, Things being my website, I'm taking a lot of time to make sure that my website looks good. It's fully functional. I've got it to the point now where people can actually sign up for memberships online. So they can basically go to shipcityfitness.com. They can look through the membership options. They can sign up, and that's being automated for me. So that way, I don't have to think about that as much. Or if somebody is interested right then and there, they don't postpone it. They have the option of clicking a button, getting everything filled out, and then they're ready to go, rather than setting up an appointment with me, getting the paperwork filled out. That's a couple steps that might deter them from taking that leap or, getting in here. So that's
That's
one big.
that's a huge time saver, I'm sure. I mean, I've worked in a gym before. I know what it's like to sell memberships or see people come in and you go for a whole tour or walk around. And I mean, it's good. Like, people got to see what they're signing up for. But if they know that they want to do it and it's right there and available online, especially where you're the only person, that's got to save so much time, and time is so valuable.
Yeah, I did it for time, no doubt about that. But one thing that I've been trying to consider, working with different clients, working with anybody, I notice that it's obvious that there's going to be barriers for everybody to getting into fitness. There's barriers financially, there's barriers with time, there's barriers with willingness to actually do the thing that's hard for them to do. So making an automated system that allows somebody to take advantage of their motivation right then and there allows them to sign up immediately. Because what I've noticed is that some people might get that motivation for a day. I'm not able to meet up with them immediately. And then by the time I'm able to contact them and get an appointment set up, their motivation to get into the gym is lost. So taking advantage of the internet is a good step that I feel, I want to take, because I don't want people to miss out on the opportunity to get themselves in a place that, was going to support them and is going to help them develop the habits that they want. Because I've kind of understood that, if somebody loses the motivation to get in here just because I'm not available right at that second, then I'm probably not doing everything in my power to help as many people as I can. So that was just one of the steps that I've taken to kind of help not just myself out, but also hopefully help more people that I might have missed otherwise.
That's awesome. I mean, I like that. You also mentioned that you've kind of transformed the gym a little bit. What do you mean by that? Like, so you went from CrossFit and they were starting to do a fat loss studio. And you've done a little bit different from there, right? Like, what is the style now?
Yeah. So right now it's a 24-hour strength and conditioning center. I want to label it as a strength and conditioning center rather than just a gym, is because I want to attract people who are interested in strength sports. That's something that I personally have a huge interest in, that I am very passionate about. Strength sports being powerlifting, Olympic lifting, strongman, and bodybuilding. If I ever work with somebody one-on-one, my goal is to find one of those activities that I can kind of push them towards in order to give them something to work on other than just weight loss or fat loss. I think that giving them an identity as one of those types of athletes, even if they don't like calling themselves athletes, gives them a little bit more buy-in the long term, because when people are just so fixated on their weight, they don't appreciate the gains that they make in the gym, whether it's a 5-pound squat PR or that they're able to do a push-up for the first time. If somebody is so focused on the weight that they're missing those small gains that they make pretty much day to day, I think it's harder for them to buy into it long term. So I'm really trying to attract people who want to be in some sort of strength sport. And I also want people to be exposed to strength sports, because I think that there's a lot of people who still think that it's, the 80s and 90s, where powerlifting is, death metal and banging your head off a barbell until blood's coming out of your eyebrow. And, Olympic lifting is only for the people who want to go to the Olympics, and strongman is only for people who are 6'7", weighing 400 pounds. Like, there are so many benefits to going through these sports, and even as just a regular gym goer, and a lot of it's just community outside of just exercise alone.
That's a big thing for me personally. I mean, I work out mostly at home now, but growing up, I went to a couple of gyms and the community was mind blowing, I guess you could say. I was shocked because there's all that like quote gym intimidation bullshit that people talk about. And like, it's not real. Like, I mean, I guess it is a little bit if you're like brand new and you're afraid someone's judging you or whatever, but so many people there like really just want to help you. Like, I mean, at least every encounter I've had, most of the time, people just want to help you. Sometimes they do it in a douchey way and they're like, hey, bro, like, well, let me give you these tips, and you don't want them. But at the end of the day, like, I really think most people in the gym are there to try and help you get better, because at the end of the day, I mean, everyone I talk to that does work out, that's their goal. They want to better themselves. They're not in there competing with you. I mean, are there those douchebags? Yeah, of course, like once in a while. I mean, you gotta, but that's up to like you, the owner, to create that environment. And from everything I've heard so far, and from what I've heard from people that go to your gym, it seems like you have a very great environment there. And that's awesome. I mean, I can't wait to come up there and work out one day.
Yeah, I find that same problem a lot of the times. People who are either too afraid to go into the gym because they've never been, or too afraid to go in because they've been out of it for so long. But people who are brand new, or people who used to be athletes, or anybody else with that same sort of feeling, they feel as if anybody who is in the gym, anybody else who's in the gym at the same time as them, is watching them and judging what they're doing, when in reality, the person next to them is probably struggling just as hard, either with that same thought or with, whatever they're doing at the moment. If somebody's
Mm-hmm.
in the middle of a bench set and, they're struggling, they're not thinking about the person next to them who might be having difficult squatting to depth. And, nobody's looking at your form unless they're, unless that's their mission in life, is to go around policing the gym. Like, people typically don't do that. And I think even less so here, because having a members only gym where I'm signing everybody up, it does give me a little bit of control on who I kind of let in. I don't think I've ever turned anybody away, but I definitely can say that the people who don't fit into the community here don't last very long.
Mm-hmm. And you set the tone for that community. I mean, you as the owner, or like you said, you're walking around talking to people, and that right there is what builds that community,
Right.
and engaging with those people that are good people, that are want to help other people grow, giving them a little more leeway, or whatever it is that, I mean, you got so many options to build a great community. And I feel like that's the biggest thing, at least for me, when I'm going to a gym. I've gone to gyms all over the world. I've traveled a lot through my work, and it's one of the best gyms I ever went to was this place that didn't even have windows. It was in Aruba. And I mean, it was old, rusty, dusty, and just a disaster of a gym. But the people in there were all locals, and they were like high-fiving me, shaking my hand, like, because they thought I was on vacation. I mean, I kind of was, but it was for work. And they were like, oh, you come, like, it was awesome. Like, that environment, like, I would never forget that moment. It was incredible.
Yeah, people who go to the gym are typically pretty happy people. Even the ones who may seem intense, they're just really passionate about what they do. They're not, again, most of them aren't, judging you in a negative way. It's more so in a helpful way, where they want to see you succeed and they want to see you grow. And, I understand, like, being nervous about stepping into an environment where you might not have any idea of what you're doing, but I don't want people to ever step into my gym and feel unwelcome. So I try to do my part in, talking to anybody who I might, who's new, or talking to people who might not seem to be interacting. And, there's a balance, because I know sometimes people come in, they want to plug in their headphones and they want to just do the work and go home. And, I get to know that those people, that's what they want out of it. But for the most part, people like when, I greet them at the door. People like to see me. Hold on. Automatic lights. Sorry.
Working
People
right
like,
now too.
yeah, that's great. Never stops. Uh,
How many hours a day are you there?
at the gym, I probably spend about 6 to 8 hours, just because I don't want to burn out. That's why I do drop-ins by appointment only. It's a members only gym, so that I don't have to worry about random people coming in through the door looking for information and not being able to see me. Um, pros and cons to that, but I think long term, giving myself a schedule and not being here 10 to 12 hours, 7 days a week is the best move long term. Because even when I'm outside of the gym, I'm still answering phone calls, I'm still responding to emails, I'm still taking care of stuff on the business end of it. I'm just not here to greet people at the door. So that just kind of saves me a lot of headache, and it's again one of those decisions that I think is setting me up for long-term success.
There has
If
to be
I
balance too. I mean, you said you have a pretty serious relationship. I mean, that's extremely important. You can't just sideline that, because you need I was talking to another guy. He's one of my really good friends. He was on my show and he's a personal trainer, and he was talking about like the different pillars of like mind, body, spirit, and all that. And, you know, you have to, I loved it. I thought he was spot on. Like you have to have those different pillars, and you have to have that family balance, that work balance, that drive and determination. Obviously, you know, it comes out for your business, but then there's also that, like that side of you that wants to be human and not just constantly go, go, go.
Yep.
How is like that balance, I guess, for you? I mean, it seems like you got it down pretty well, but is there anything that you think you could do to improve it?
Yeah, there's definitely things that I can do to improve it. There's always things that I can do to get better or to make things easier. And I think that that's just part of the journey, is just figuring out what I can do to make my life better and make the people who I surround myself's lives better. And, you know, it's not easy all the time. I think that, you know, I'll stand by my earlier statement that, you know, it really just comes down to, you know, understanding yourself, knowing what's important to you, knowing that what you want in life is actually what you want, and not just something that you're trying to accomplish for just superficial value. You know, the things that I do and the decisions I make are because I truly care about them. You know, my relationship outside of work, with family, with my girlfriend, with friends, those all have great meaning to me. And it keeps me in check when I find myself getting too much involved in my work, because you know, you don't want your life to revolve around one thing. One thing that I've been trying to learn about more is kind of financial security, which I hear you're pretty big on. And one thing that, you know, I was told is, and that I've heard for years but never really understood, is to kind of diversify your portfolio. And, you know, I've heard that term before, but just kind of, you know, putting yourself in different areas so that if one thing's not going right, you have all these other areas to kind of uplift you. And I kind of started thinking about that professionally. And I think that if I was so heavily involved in my work life that I let everything else kind of fall off, and I wasn't really doing anything to maintain my family relationship or my romantic relationships or my friends, if things started to go sour at the gym for a patch of time, it would make my life feel so much worse, because that would be all I had going for me.
Mm-hmm.
So I do have to constantly remind myself that there is more to life than just the gym. There is more to life than just my business. I have other people who care about me and want to see me succeed, but it's hard for them to do that when all I do is focus on this.
It's that
So
pursuit of happiness,
yeah. And I
finding that
think
overall balance.
yeah, overall balance is exactly what, you know, I don't know if I struggle with it, but it is a constant reminder. So I just think that that's the reality. It's something that I will have to remind myself of, so that I don't let those things go unchecked for too long.
That's great. I mean, I love that. I don't think I could have put that any better myself. What was that like though? Because I mean, there was obviously a huge balance shift when you went from employee to owner. How was that? I mean, obviously an exciting time, but probably a little nerve wracking. I mean, 3 years ago, you were a little younger. You didn't know what the hell you were getting into. And, you know, I mean, you just walk in the doors one day and it's yours. How was that?
Yeah, no, it was something that I stepped into with zero idea what to expect. Like I said, it was easy for me because I was in an environment that was so supportive. My family was very supportive. The people who I was working with, not employees or coworkers, because I didn't really have any of those at the time. But the people who I was working with, my clients, they all recognized and understood that I was new, I was young. I had a lot of knowledge at the time, not, you know, not what I have now. You know, I've definitely learned a lot between now and then. But like they understood that there would probably be a learning curve. So they were willing to work with me, which was, you know, extremely valuable at the beginning, because I was able to make mistakes without feeling like it was going to make or break me. If I did or said something that was, you know, stupid, people were a little quick to tell me, you know, you might not want to say that, or you might want to do it a different way, just because, you know, one thing that I've struggled with is communication. And that's something that I've been really trying to better myself at, you know, being clear, being concise. And, you know, I would definitely say that before I would say things that got the point across, but might have been a little harsher than I wanted them to come across. So, being in a place that was a weight loss studio, working with primarily middle-aged women who are either going through divorce or having issues at work, or dealing with family stuff. The gym was some place that they wanted to go to feel good. And if I said something that might have come across as a little too harsh, just being a 24, 25-year-old guy, not really thinking about how my words are affecting my client or the person I'm talking to. I found myself a little more often than I would have liked, having to, circle back and, rephrase the thing that I said, because what I had said might have hurt somebody's feelings. So I find that a lot of times nowadays, I really try to put a lot of weight onto the words that I use and the narrative that I create around the message that I'm trying to portray. So that's something that I'm a lot more mindful of now than I used to be.
Definitely. And I think that's something that we all kind of struggle with, is communication. I mean, I'm pretty blunt. I say a lot of things that I later look back, I'm like, maybe it was a little hard, but I got my point across, and I think it's part of the beauty of honesty, because at least you know how someone's feeling, but at the same time, when you don't know somebody so well, you kind of got to say it a different way. And I think that's something, especially owning a gym. I know a couple of people that own different businesses, and they've had to kind of hold back a little bit on what they want to say, like through all this pandemic stuff. And because the gym is statistically, from what I've seen, like the safest place to be, but yet they keep closing them down.
Right.
And it's frustrating, because I know a lot of people in the industry, and it's frustrating to see that, and it's frustrating to see them hurt. How was that for you? Like, did you have to close or anything like that through all this? I know Maine's pretty lenient.
Yeah. So this past year, 2020, was actually the most successful year that I've had in my business. Part of that was just the expansion that I decided to do over the shutdown. We were required to shut down for a period of time. They started off by shutting down individual counties, and then they expanded it to individual cities based on risk level, population, all that. But I was forced to shut down at the end of March, and wasn't able to open up to full capacity until the beginning of July.
Oh, wow.
So that's during periods of time between those dates. I was allowed to do like single person entry. I was allowed to do like one-on-one. So, being a 24-hour gym, I was able to do things for my members that allowed them to continue to go to the gym. And then the people who weren't so comfortable coming in or didn't have the ability to come in, I did rent or loan equipment to my members just to keep them active at home.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, so I'm not obviously going to let them walk out with a treadmill, but if they wanted to take a few dumbbells home, if they wanted to grab a barbell, some plates and a rack, anything that they could basically fit in their car and set up at home, I was very willing, and I wanted people to take advantage of that, because I didn't want people to get out of the rhythm. I know how difficult it can be to get back into something after working so hard to develop some habits. So, yeah, there were some things that I was able to do, even with the regulations that were in place.
And what was the expansion part like?
So yeah, the expansion was something that I decided to do during the shutdown, because previously I was located in Bath, Maine, about 10 miles down north of on Route 1 here, and it was a 1,800 square foot facility, usable square feet. Right now, I'm probably in a space that's about 3 times that size.
Oh,
And
awesome.
it's funny, because the story of how I got into this is basically the same as how I got into my first business. So the previous owner of the space that I'm in currently had been, running the gym for a couple of years. Her and her partner at the time had split, so they weren't able to work, together and keep the business going. So they were looking to sell the business. And right before the shutdown is when one of my members had approached me and told me that they were looking to find somebody who was willing to take over their space, and buy them out essentially. And I was in communication with the past owner for a couple months, just, a little bit talking about it. We weren't really too sure of, if it was going to happen or not. And then when we got the word that gyms were going to be closing down for a couple months at least, she had, kind of wanted to take that opportunity to close up shop. She gave me the option of, taking over her business and buying her out. So that way, when gyms reopened, she wouldn't have to go through that process of, contacting all our members and, resetting up the gym. So during the shutdown, we got all the paperwork finalized. I took all my stuff from Bath and I moved it over here to Brunswick. And then I just started going to work. I did some small renovations. I had to, rip out the old carpet that was lining the gym floor that was, 30 years old. I had to, remat the entire basement. I had to move, 30,000 pounds worth of equipment around the gym with a few extra hands. So I put in a good amount of time to setting it up the way that I wanted to. And it's just paid off tremendously. The space that I'm at, like I said, is about 3 times the size. I have basically every piece of equipment that I can imagine that would accommodate bodybuilders, powerlifters, and Olympic weightlifters. So regardless of training preferences, my space is pretty well equipped to handle anybody who wanted to come and work out, regardless of preference. And yeah, I've just been kind of growing my membership since then, just kind of figuring it out as I go, really.
Dude, I mean, that's awesome. I have a home gym, and moving that was terrible. I can't imagine moving 1,800 square feet worth of equipment. What was it like to prep for that? I mean, like, there's obviously a ton of paperwork. There's like, you got to do your numbers, your costs, like all that stuff. Like, what was the preparation like in order to shift spaces from here to I'm assuming did you own or were you renting the previous one?
Yeah, so I've leased both of my spaces. I have a space here that I go year to year. The space that I was at in Bath was month to month. So I didn't have to go through a ton of paperwork. And like I said, it was, all things considered, it was a relatively low risk situation for me compared to what it would have been if I would have started from the ground up, where I would have had to invest in all new equipment. I would have had to find a space to start my business up. I moved into a space that has been historically a gym since about 1994. It's gone through a few different owners since then, but the equipment is the original equipment. So that, old school feel, that rusty vibe that you had gotten from your gym in Aruba, you basically walk down and it's a little bit like a blast from the past. It's all this Body Masters equipment that's, almost 30 years old at this point, but it's rugged and it's not going anywhere for the next 30 years at least.
I like that shit. I'm into that kind of stuff. I like deadlifting with metal plates. I think there's nothing better than dropping a full bar of metal plates. I mean, I personally love that shit. I have a friend that owns a gym in Salem, New Hampshire as well. And it's old school like that too. And I love going there to work out. It's so much fun.
Yeah, there's a completely different vibe. And I think that there's definitely 2 types of people. You're either going to love it or hate it. But for me, it's super motivating to hear 315 clanging around on back squats. And, it's just not the same when you got bumper plates on there and you have people who are trying to be as quiet as possible. If I hear somebody slamming weights around, I'm over there cheering them on. And it's a lot of fun for me.
That's awesome. So how is it? I mean, there's obviously a lot that you're doing, and you kind of mentioned that you fold the towels, you clean the equipment, you sign people up, you work on the website. I mean, what did you expect to have to be doing all of this in your day to day? What was kind of a surprise, and what did you expect?
Like I said, it was pretty hard for me to expect what I was getting myself into at the time. It was one of those situations where the phrase you don't know what you don't know. And there was definitely a lot that I didn't know. There was definitely a lot that I had to find out along the way. Luckily, I'm pretty conservative with the steps that I take. If I want to do something, I'll kind of dip my toe in first, and I'll kind of see if it's the right move before going all out. So if I messed up, it wasn't a huge impact to me. But the website has been one of the most technically difficult things that I've probably had to do. But luckily there are websites like, I'm going through WordPress, but you know, you have WordPress, Wix, you have all these website platforms that basically make it as easy as possible.
Yeah, I use a couple of those. I
Yeah,
use
yeah. So
Squarespace and Shopify.
exactly, exactly. So the website is very time consuming. It's a lot of trial and error. Um, I'm putting a lot of hours into it over the past month and a half, but you know, at the end of it, I'll be able to make changes whenever I want. I'm not paying somebody to do it for me, so I'm not on their clock. If I need to make an adjustment to my store hours, or if I need to change my prices, I can go on that and do that in a couple minutes now. Whereas a month ago, it would have taken me 2 hours.
And the beauty of that as well is, like, not only are you saving money on not paying somebody, but now you know how to do it. So forever you can do this, and you can always learn and grow and do this. I mean, that was something I loved about starting my business or my clothing brand. And even this podcast was, I had to learn how to do everything on my own. I mean, I didn't have shit for help. Like nobody I knew any of that stuff. You know what I mean? So it was all YouTube and just kind of trial and error, seeing what works, what doesn't work. And it was hard. I mean, quote hard. Like, I don't think anything is truly like hard. I think it's just a matter of step by step by step. Like, what do you have to do and figuring it out, you know, even coding a website, you know what I mean? Like, I don't know if you've had to do any of that. I did very minimal, but it seems so difficult, but if you just follow the step by step, it's actually really simple, like broken down. It's just a matter of figuring that out is what takes the time and the work.
Yeah, well, that's it. Time and work is really what it comes down to. If you're willing to put in the time and you're willing to do the work, you can figure out anything. But it's going to take you some time. And you know, I can definitely say that I have a lot of hours into doing the website, and I've had to redo a lot of things, and I've had to read a bunch of stuff on Google, and I had to watch a bunch of YouTube videos. You know, I've had to call the WordPress, you know, company a handful of times so that they can walk me through something. But like you said,
Been there.
now I can do it on my own. The little changes that I need to make, I've probably done it a handful of times. And, you know, the first time it might have taken me a couple hours. Then the next time it might have taken me an hour. Now it's taken me, you know, 5 to 10 minutes to do something that used to take me all day.
Yeah.
So I think that there's a lot of value in, you know, struggling for a little bit. You know, it's the same thing with a lot of areas in life. You know, it's not going to come easy, especially if you have to figure it out by yourself. That's one thing that I struggle with, is asking for help. I could definitely figure things out quicker if I were a little bit more willing to ask somebody who might have done it before. But you know, I'm definitely not afraid of taking on a huge workload. I enjoy what I do thoroughly. So work to me doesn't really feel like a job. It's just, you know, something that I enjoy doing. And if I mess up here and there, it's not a big deal. I don't really beat myself up over it because it's not really affecting me too much. It's just, you know, a work in progress.
How much do you think, like, physically working out has helped you develop that kind of a mindset of like, hey, I can figure this out. I can do this. Like, it's going to take time, but I'll get there. Like, how beneficial has exercise been to you for owning a business, if at all?
I can't say that when I was younger. I started fitness formally as a martial artist when I was 11. I didn't start being in the gym. I didn't start lifting weights until I was probably a sophomore, junior in high school. I don't think that I ever thought of exercise as like a mentally challenging thing that I'm using for my own growth. I definitely think that it did help me out. I think that, you know, going to the gym, doing something hard, you know, 4 to 7 times a week at the gym, you know, for an hour each session, that you walk out sweating and sore. And I think that, you know, that definitely does a lot to kind of toughen you up a little bit.
Keep you disciplined too.
Yeah, you know, you develop a lot of things that you might not even be aware of. I think that now that I'm in a position where I have to think about a lot of things because I have to explain things to clients and people that I work with and talk to, I actually think about the benefits that you get outside of just like, you know, gaining muscle or losing fat. Like, I have to actually, you know, explain to people that you develop a lot of, you know, you develop a lot of skills outside of just the gym by coming in regularly and setting a routine for yourself. Like, I think what I gain the most is, it definitely does a lot for my sanity. Being structured and having a routine is definitely something that I think is super valuable, and it helps me get through everything that I need to get through day to day. And that's something that, I can definitely say I do with my exercise now, my workouts is like, it's very structured. Like I know exactly what I'm going to do when I come in here. I don't care if it's a good day, bad day, or great day. Like I'm going to come in, I'm going to do the work. It doesn't matter if I hate it or love it. I'm still getting, a lot of good out of it. So
Yeah.
those are things that I look at now and I think about, but I can't really say, from the age 10 to 25, I can't imagine that I ever put, a thought into that. I was just doing it because I liked doing it, and because, I was, all things considered, I think I was pretty good at what I did. So, it was just
Yeah.
something that I thoroughly enjoyed.
Definitely. I mean, I definitely agree there. Like when I was 14, 15 working out, like I didn't think, oh, this is really helping me mentally. You know what I mean? I just wanted to look good,
Yeah.
I wanted to be strong when I was that age. But now, like looking back, like I realize how much it really has taught me in just life. You know what I mean? Like so many different things I've learned because I was disciplined in the gym, or because I met somebody through the gym, or like, I don't know. It's definitely helped me a ton. And I think I mean, pretty much the reason why I do a lot of what I do now, because it got me into, I would never have RN fitness if I didn't start working out. You know what I mean? It's just stuff
Right.
like that. Discipline was probably the biggest for me though. Discipline. Cause I wouldn't go out drinking like with my friends and stuff on the weekends, cause I wanted to have a good workout.
Yeah. And I think that people have the wrong idea when they see somebody like you, where it's like, yeah, I'd love to go out and have some fun with my friends. I'd love to have a drink occasionally, but if I really want to accomplish the things that I want to accomplish, it's probably not going to help me if I have an extra beer, if I go out and stay at the club until 2 a.m. Like that's not gonna do anything to benefit me, long term. And I might have some fun, but I think that a lot of people don't realize that you can do other things that are just as fulfilling and just as fun, that aren't detrimental to your health, or
Yeah.
that set you back to working toward your goals. Like the two aren't mutually exclusive. Like you can do a lot of the things that accomplish, that can get you in the same direction.
Yeah, absolutely. So overall, was it harder than you thought, or was it a little bit like, okay, this has been really good so far? Like, is something coming? Like, how was it to 3 years, like looking back where you are now, like 3 years ago, like what's different? What would you have told yourself, or what would you have done differently?
Um, don't hold on to your beliefs so tightly, because what you learn right now is you're probably going to change your mind at some point. I've found that holding on to your beliefs really tightly is really counterproductive, uh, especially in an industry that revolves around health, where there's constantly things changing. A lot of the fundamentals I don't think are ever going to change, but you always see like new and fancy ways of exercising. Like I look at these trampoline classes and these acro yoga classes and these pole fitness classes, and it's like, to me it's just silly, because it's not what I like. But there's no reason that somebody can't get in shape with that. So I would be so fixated on my own beliefs, on what I felt was like the best way to work out, and I would completely dismiss any other form of fitness. And in the reality, there's 100 ways to skin a cat. Like there's so many ways that you can build muscle. There's so many ways that you can burn fat. There's so many ways that you can spend your time in the gym, and they all have value. And just because I don't personally enjoy those things, or I don't think that it's the best way to spend your time in the gym, doesn't mean that it's, worth not doing at all. And so I just remember myself getting really frustrated at stupid stuff that really doesn't matter. Being in the gym is the number one priority that I have for a lot of people. And whether they want to do kettlebells or barbells or dumbbells or run on the treadmill, I don't care anymore. As long as I see somebody making, taking steps in the right direction, that's what makes me happy now.
I mean, I asked that question to just about everybody, and that was probably my favorite answer so far. I mean, I'm going to kind of lump that into open-mindedness, right? I mean, like just having an open mind, because along your journey, you're going to learn things, you're going to experience new things. And if you just ignore those things, then you're not growing. And when you stop and you take those in, you can grow now, and your opinions are going to change. Your mind is going to change. I mean, I've noticed it with me a ton too. There's so many things now that I think of so differently. You know what I mean? Like, I'm really big into like mental health stuff now. And when I was like 15, I would tell people that had anxiety to like fuck off. And I would just say, oh, it's all in your head. Like, I realize now how like wrong that was. You know what I mean? I actually had a friend reach out to me and say like, oh, I can't believe how much you've changed on this. And it's just keeping an open mind, because you never know what can change your opinion, or what can benefit you, or what can help you benefit somebody else.
Right. Right. I think you said something that, it's still something that I work through, but, right now I'm a lot more willing to be wrong. I'm more accepting of the fact that I'm probably wrong about a lot of shit that I think right now. It's something that I don't think anybody likes, but I don't think that a lot of people are willing to accept the fact that, what they're telling people or what they're doing might be wrong, just straight up. And, I can't say that I am, accepting of new information 100% of the time when it's given to me, but I'm aware that, I'm probably not right 100% of the time. It's very, very unlikely. And I am much more willing to listen to the other side of the story because of the new knowledge that I could gain from another person and a new experience. I'm not as afraid of being wrong anymore, which, was something that would hold me back from making a decision, just paralysis by analysis kind of thing. Like, you're so afraid of what could happen, the negatives of what could happen, that you just don't do anything at all. And, that fear of being wrong or making the wrong decision, that would hold me back a lot. And, I would just say, trust your gut, do your homework, be prepared. But, at the end of the day, you've got to make a decision and you've got to trust your gut. But those two things come first, do your homework and be prepared before you do anything else. And, once you do those two things, just trust that, you've put in the work and that, that you've prepared yourself to make the best decision possible or to do the best that you can. And, just see what happens. That's something that I have to constantly remind myself of, is, just to be a little bit more confident in what you do.
Something I've said for a very long time is I'm just doing the best I can with what I got. And, sometimes the best you can sucks. Sometimes the best you can is great. And it's all, I mean, you just got to do what you can with what you have.
Yep.
When you train people, right?
Yeah. I don't take on a huge amount of workload from one-on-one clientele, just because it is time consuming. You figure an hour for each session, then you got to spend time creating a program for somebody. And then you got to spend some time after each session, making sure that you're keeping up with, how they're progressing and if we need to make adjustments. So it's pretty time consuming to be a full-time personal trainer. As much as I love it, I have a lot more responsibilities. So I do take on at most 5 clients at a time. But I do still work with at least a couple here and there.
And when you are training people, do you focus at all on the mental ability from working out, or do you just strictly focus on the form, the exercise, and that kind of thing?
When you say mental ability, can you narrow that down for me at all?
So something that I do when I train people out of my home gym sometimes, and something I'll do is I won't say anything to them the first few sets. I'll just let them go. And then the next few, I'll have them grab a heavier weight and I'll push them a little more. And I'll say, hey, come on, go, go, go. And they'll do more. And I'll circle back and be like, do you see what you just did? What do you mean? What did I just do? I'm like, well, you just did more weight. And before, you weren't trying, you know what I mean? And I try to really hit that kind of thing when I train with people. I was just curious if you kind of did something similar.
Yes. I really have a much different approach right now with how I work with clients than I did a couple years ago. I do try to keep, I would say that my biggest mindfulness tactic that I try to keep in mind with people is to remind them to just be mindful of what they're doing. whether that's eating, whether that's working out, whether that's doing things outside of the gym that they're trying to work on. Mindfulness is one of the things that it's a very broad term, and I'll try to define it as best I can. But when I'm working one-on-one with a client, I don't feel that I don't feel that I should be in charge of telling somebody how much weight to do. I give them the plan for the day. So if we're doing, bench press and we're hitting a set of 10 for, 5 sets of 10, whatever it may be. And I'll give them, are you familiar with the RPE, like rate of perceived exertion?
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's the biggest thing that I try to communicate with the person that I'm working with, because I'm not too concerned with how they're performing on any given day. I'm more concerned with tracking their long-term progress. If somebody goes from, benching 100 pounds for a set of 10, and they're telling me that they're rating that like an RP 7, and then after a couple weeks they go down, they're like, yeah, that's an RP 5 or 6. Like, okay, cool. So you benched the same amount of weight for the same amount of reps, and it's getting easier. So it's time to bump it back up. So that's how I regulate how much weight to kind of give somebody. But I do have a method of kind of calibrating that, and that's really the only day that I'll kind of push somebody. Like once a month we'll do AMRAP sets. So I'll have somebody do 3 weeks of something where, like I say, if we're doing bench press for sets of 10, I'll say, okay, I want you to do 3 sets of 10 at RPE 7 or 8, whatever the number is for the day, whatever the target is. So they have a target, they're going for it. They think that they're hitting RP 7 for a set of 10 day to day. On our day for AMRAPs, that's when I'm like, all right, I'm going to be in your face. I'm going to be telling you to go, go, go. So if they reach 10 reps and they say, this is what has been my RP 7, and they get 8 more reps out of it, 9 more reps, then it's like, all right, you're not pushing it hard enough. Like, this is the reality check. You just did an AMRAP set. You failed at 18 reps. You were supposed to fail at 13 reps. So let's try to push it a little bit harder moving forward. So that way you can get a little bit more out of each session. That's the way that I kind of push people.
I like that.
It's more managing their expectations, because they expect themselves to come to the gym and put in some work and get the results. And some people don't expect to work very hard. And some people, they have the expectation that they come in here and they need to kill themselves every time they come in. So each person needs a different approach. And depending on the results of those AMRAP tests, that's how I decide to either reel them in a little bit, tell them that they need to stop pushing so hard, or they need to push it a little bit more. That's kind of how I decide whether or not I'm going to be, what role I need to step into, whether it's going to be, the motivator, or if I'm going to be I'm going to be the hurting them, taking them a step back or two.
Yeah. And for those listening, RPE is like, if you're at an RPE 10, you're pretty much gassed. Like you couldn't do more. If you're at a 1, then it's extremely easy for you. It's I don't remember it's like rate of perceived exertion, I think. Yeah.
If you want me to explain a little bit, I could, but that's essentially it. Your rate of perceived exertion is essentially a way that you can measure how difficult something is. The closer you are to 10, the closer you are to exhaustion, to complete failure. The further away you are from 10, the easier it is. The easiest way that people communicate RPE is by asking themselves how many reps in reserve they have. So that's a pretty common way of measuring how hard something was. At the end of a set, just asking somebody, how many reps did you have left in the tank? Usually they'll say, I had 1, 2, 3, X amount of reps left in the tank. And depending on how many reps they have remaining is a numerical value that they'll assign to that set. So if they have 2 reps left in the tank, it'll be an RP 8. If they have 4 reps left in the tank, it'll be RP 6. And if they have 0 reps left in the tank, then it's an RP 10.
That's it's a good way to measure how hard you're really pushing yourself. I mean, you pretty much explained the rest of it there, but it's definitely, I don't really do that as much. I'm more just kind of, I'm one of those, I like to just push myself as hard as I
Yeah.
can most of the time. And I've learned my lesson from that. I fucked my back up once doing that. So I learned to throttle it back like every other week now. I'll go kind of balls to the wall, and then I'll throttle it back a little, and then I'll go again maybe for 2 or 3 weeks and then throttle it back, because you just can't, like, I mean, unless you're on juice or something, you just can't push yourself like that all the time.
Yeah. Yeah. And like I said, I personally don't think it's too helpful to micromanage your day-to-day sessions. Like if you're concerned with getting your deadlift up, and you're noticing that your 5 rep max is getting stronger, chances are your 1 rep max is probably getting a little bit higher as well. So as long as somebody is doing the work and pushing themselves to meet the intensity level for the day, again, it's all predetermined. You might be at 60%, at 90%, RP6, RP8, whatever we're using as a metric to define how intense you need to work out for the day. As long as you're doing the work, that's the most important factor to me. The results are kind of how I determine whether somebody's pushing themselves or not pushing themselves, or it's just the programming. Something needs to be adjusted, because I don't want to assign all the blame to the trainee. I'm ultimately the one that's responsible for their programming, and if I need to make adjustments to anything, then I need to be open to the idea that maybe I'm not considering something that might be affecting their training.
Definitely. What is something that you would say to somebody who's maybe on the fence right now about working out? Like, oh, I want to, but quote, I don't have the time, which we all know is bullshit. Something like what is a defining factor that you would tell somebody that could hopefully get them in the gym?
So trying to say this in the nicest way, in like the most soundbiteable way possible. You don't need to be in the gym for an hour a day. You don't need to be in a gym at all. You don't need to lift barbells. You don't need to lift dumbbells or do max rep efforts. There's no one size fits all approach to fitness, and there's no wasted time exercising. Any time that you put into exercise is valuable. Any time that you put into exercise is better than no time put into it. So whether you're going for a 15-minute walk at the beginning, or you're stepping into a gym and working out for 90 minutes to 2 hours, it doesn't matter, because you're doing more than you would if you're sitting on the couch.
Absolutely. I am a big believer in there's no one size fits all. I am a big believer in get the fuck up and do it, though. I think Nike has the best slogan in the world, just do it, because it doesn't get better than that. It just get out there and do it, and you're going to feel better. You're going to notice changes. It takes time, it takes consistency, and it takes hard work, but you're going to notice changes that'll stay with you for the rest of your life. Because even when you stop working out for a little while, you may put on some weight, you may feel sluggish, but once you pick it back up, it's I call it muscle memory. I don't know if you got a better term for that, but muscle memory kicks back in, and it comes back faster than you could imagine. So I hope hopefully someone can hear this, and maybe they were thinking about starting a gym or thinking about working out, and hopefully this will be beneficial. I don't know if you have anything else to add on. You want to throw your location, your website, and all that out there again?
Yeah, it's shipcityfitness.com. Right now we're located at 9 Cumberland Street in Brunswick, Maine. We do drop-ins by appointment only. So if you want to come and check out the facilities, give us a call. We'll set you up with a time that you can come in, get a good workout in. If you need some one-on-one help, reach out through Instagram at Ship City Fitness. You can find me personally at bmccoy305 on Instagram. But yeah, don't be afraid to reach out for help, whether it's me or Nick or somebody else he has on his podcast. There's a lot of people out there who are willing to help, give you advice, tell you where to start, mistakes that they've made. Like I said, don't do what I do and, try to figure everything else out on your own. There's good people out there, and everybody wants to see you succeed. So let's just keep that in mind and remind ourselves that there are good people in the world, even during crazy times like this.
Well said, man. Hey, thank you for coming on. And everybody, thanks for listening. Don't forget to follow at Nick Kroll Show, at Ship City Fitness. And until next time, thank you guys. Take care.